Ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only DJ Storms. And I would like to welcome all of you back here to the channel right here on YouTube.com. As of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. This is the Lightning Flash update for February 1st, 2019. I think this might be the first actual Lightning Flash update that I've uploaded for 2019. It's crazy because I had to do 3 rundowns within the same month. Then I had to do a couple of breaking news videos, mainly because of the fact that I couldn't get the Lightning Flash update up because I had college work. Now, I still have college work and all that, but I've been able to manage everything quite nicely. Now, a couple things. Number one, Lightning Flash update this week. No weekly show reviews, just the news, rumors, and reports, mainly because of the fact that tomorrow afternoon, me and my girl from California, JoJo, are going to be making history, and we are going to go live on YouTube for the 10th annual special edition Storm Stream. It is going to be a must-see live stream. You are not going to want to miss this. Also, February 17th, 2019, I'm going to continue to promote this in just 16 days. Pub 46. That is the day, and that is the place. February 17th, 2019, Pub 46. Wrestling Express. We are having our Elimination Chamber meetup. It's going to start at 6:30 p.m., I believe. I'm going to be there. Tommy McGrogan's going to be there. Glenn Davidson is going to be there. And all the members of Wrestling Express are going to be there. We're going to hang out. We're going to eat. We're going to drink. We're going to watch Elimination Chamber. Talk business. If you want to meet me, you want to meet the administration members, we're always willing to welcome new members to Wrestling Express. As always, check the link in the description to the Wrestling Express group, not the fan page, on Facebook. Alright, so let's get into these news, rumors, and reports. And I got a lot to talk about. So this video could end up going 40 minutes, possibly. Number one, the news broke, I believe, literally an hour after 205 Live on Tuesday. I always watch 205 Live, so I could definitely tell something was up. Something might have been up, and there have been numerous reports here and there, but Fightful.com reported that Hideo Itami asked for his release, and WWE granted it. This is a major disappointment for many, many reasons. Obviously, we know that Itami had major potential. And he had to switch up his style because of the shoulder injury. He had surgery and all that. Hideo wasn't really on track as far as his main roster run on WWE television is concerned. He had glimpses of hope in NXT, but mainly because of the injuries is kind of what took away all his momentum. Now, as far as the injuries go, look, again, injuries happen. They're all part of the game. But I have a feeling that WWE, and I'm even including Triple H in this, WWE didn't do anything to help Hideo get his momentum back, similar to what happened with the Revival. Hideo Itami and the Revival, they're kind of in similar situations because the Revival got injured twice. Hideo got injured twice. In this type of situation, they were victims of injuries, and then WWE did nothing to help them gain their momentum back and put them in prime spots. Now, Hideo Itami got injured in 2015, came back in 2017. Or no, 2016. Came back in 2016, was around for 3 months, he got injured again. He came back in early 2017, Excuse me. He competed for the NXT Championship against Bobby Roode at TakeOver Chicago. He had a match against Aleister Black at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. And then he had a one-off feud with Cassius Ohno that resulted in Cassius Ohno defeating Itami in a no disqualification match. And then Itami was sent to 205 Live a mere 2 months later. Now, WWE called up Itami and they had no plans for him. This was when Vince was still running 205 Live, a month before Triple H actually took over 205 Live. Itami never should have left NXT that early. Itami should never have left NXT at the end of 2017. I don't know whose call that was, whether it was Vince's, whether it was Triple H's, but regardless, it was a horrendous call. It was a horrendous call because Itami didn't have enough buzz and momentum around him. Yes, he was a legend. Yes, he's a great wrestler. But because of all those injuries plaguing his NXT career, Hideo Itami just kind of fell flat. Itami should have stayed in NXT all throughout 2018 for multiple reasons. Number one, he could have built back his momentum. He didn't necessarily need to win a championship, but he could have built back his momentum, built back his credibility, built back his mystique. Two, think of all the matches that we could have gotten if Hideo Itami had stayed in NXT all throughout 2018. Hideo versus Cole. Hideo versus Cole. Hideo versus Pete Dunne. Hideo versus Johnny Gargano. Hideo versus Andrade Cien Almas. Hideo versus Lars Sullivan. Hideo versus Velveteen Dream. Hideo versus Ricochet. Why wouldn't you want to see those matches? If I'm Triple H, I would have kept Hideo, or if I was Vince, regardless of who made the call, I would have kept Hideo in NXT for that reason alone. Because I wanted to see those matches. Now, we're probably never going to see those matches. If I was Triple H, I would have vied for Hideo Itami to stay in NXT for at least till the end of 2018. Plus, things with the WWE, they weren't really concerning Hideo Itami when Vince was still running 205 Live. Enzo Amore was the Cruiserweight Champion. Cedric Alexander was in the position to take the title. If everything happened the way it did, with Enzo getting fired, Cedric winning that Cruiserweight Championship tournament, Cedric going on that long reign as Cruiserweight Champion, which I enjoyed, and then Buddy Murphy finally winning the Cruiserweight Championship in his hometown of Melbourne, Australia, if everything happened and Hideo didn't factor into anything, then Hideo would have came up to 205 Live regardless. At the end of 2018, you could have gotten some solid plans for him, and Hideo could have been much happier with his position, number one, and he could have very well been Cruiserweight Champion, possibly by WrestleMania this year. Again, whoever's call it was to bring Hideo to 205 Live that early was a huge, huge mistake. Huge mistake. Hideo didn't factor in. Hideo barely factored into anything on 205 Live. He was pretty much used as a 205 Live undercard guy, and he was used to put a lot of people over. He put over Roderick Strong, put over Cedric Alexander, put over Mustafa Ali, put over Akira Tozawa. I mean, yeah, he had some great matches on 205 Live with Cedric and Mustafa and Tozawa. But ultimately, there was no plans to make Hideo Itami the face of that brand. Plus, there was even plans about Itami moving to SmackDown, but Itami, he was just so unhappy with his position that he basically just said, fuck it. It really does suck, because I'm a fan of Hideo Itami. I'm a fan of Hideo Itami, and I saw big things for him. Even with the injuries, I saw big things for him. But the fact that he got called up to 205 Live so early, way too early. He was only technically in NXT. He was only around in NXT for about maybe 11, 12 months. Officially. 11, 12, 13, 14 months. Officially. Because the injuries that plagued his NXT career kept him off of television for pretty much 2 years. Pretty much 2 years. So, Hideo didn't really have a chance to really come into his own in NXT. He had some good matches with Black and Cole and Rude. But still, I mean, why would you take Hideo out of NXT that early? May not have seemed that early, but it was extremely early. If that was WWE, keep Hideo in NXT. Then you could have brought him to 205 Live at the end of 2018. He could have had a North American champion. He could have been a part of the North American Championship ladder match at NXT TakeOver New Orleans. The injuries took away a lot of Hideo's momentum, but it was WWE's fault for taking him out of NXT before he had a chance to gain his momentum and mystique back. And it was pretty much fait accompli when he came up to 205 Live. Almost said NXT. He was on 205 Live. He pretty much didn't factor into anything. Mainly because there were so many bigger stories to tell with Cedric and Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali when Mustafa was on 205 Live before he made the jump to SmackDown. There were so many other stars that Hideo was just kind of pushed down the ladder because those stars, since they've been on 205 Live since day one, now not Buddy Murphy, but Buddy Murphy came on 205 Live and he was just, he just became the hottest thing on 205 Live within 3 months. So all those stars were outshining Hideo Itami, and all those stars kind of took over the main event scene on 205 Live. Hideo was basically left with nothing. Hideo would have favored much better in NXT throughout 2018, and if he would have came up 205 Live maybe at the beginning of this year, 2019, maybe he would have stuck around longer, and he could have been Cruiserweight Champion. Who knows? Maybe he could have even made the jump to SmackDown Live just like Mustafa Ali recently did. Can't really do anything now. It's too late. Hideo has pretty much he tweeted thank you after his match with Tozawa. He already changed his Twitter name to Kenta again. So at this rate, it's over for Itami. He's gonna have to start from scratch on the independent scene. I wish Hideo Itami the best of luck in everything that he does. I'm a huge fan of Itami. We could very well see him in AEW. I would love to see him in AEW because we could get a lot of great matches out of Hideo in AEW matches with Neville, matches with, or Pac rather, matches with Kenny Omega, matches with Adam Page and Cody. Possibilities are endless, and Joey Janela. Possibilities are endless there, so I do wish Hideo Itami the best. I have nothing but respect for Hideo Itami, no pun intended there, and that's all I can really say. That's all I can really say about Hideo Itami. My next report comes from Cage Side Seats and PW Insider. Cage Side Seats reported that Shane Helms, aka the Hurricane, was hired by the WWE alongside Abyss and Sanjay Dutt as a main roster producer. PW Insider even reported that Helms was actually backstage at Raw with Sanjay Dutt. I believe Shane Helms even tweeted a picture of that. So I'm actually interested to see what Shane Helms, Abyss, and Sanjay Dutt can do. I'm actually interested to see, do they have a little on-screen role here and there? Do they have a little on-screen role here and there? Does Sanjay Dutt, if he's a cruiserweight, do they put Sanjay Dutt on 205 Live? Try and help fill the void of Hideo and Mustafa recently leaving. I'm actually interested to see how their production skills are, because I actually want to hear about a match produced by this guy and that guy. I hear that a lot of matches, like Rollins and McIntyre, and Rollins and The Miz at Backlash, that was produced by Tyson Kidd. So Tyson Kidd, he really fit very nicely into the producer role. I think that these three guys could fit very well into the producer role as well. Abyss, we all know he's a veteran in this industry, spent almost his entire career in Impact Wrestling. Sanjay Dutt is great great at what he does. Shane Helms, obviously the Hurricane, he could come back as an on-screen role just for a little nostalgic period. You never know. You never know, but I'm actually interested to see how they do in their production roles. So, let me see them produce a match. Let me see a match produced by them, and I'll make my judgment then. Not really that big of a report. I just thought I'd get that in there. This next report, however, has been circulating wrestling Twitter, wrestling Instagram, the wrestling community in general, since Monday, I believe. PW Torch cited that Dean Ambrose turned down a new WWE contract for 5 years. I believe it was $1 million plus per year. He says that he has his mind made up, and he plans on departing from the company when his contract expires in April, mainly due to his frustrations with the creative direction of his character. And you know what? I do not blame him one single solitary ounce. I don't blame his frustration at all. I don't blame him at all. Every little ounce of frustration that he has is 100% understandable. Dean Ambrose, he came back in August for SummerSlam with the Rollins. There were reports that they were turning Dean Ambrose heel before he got injured in December of 2017. Now Ambrose is back, and they were picking up where those plans left off. The original plans for Dean Ambrose's heel turn was to turn him heel at Survivor Series on the Shield, but Roman went down with leukemia, so they had Ambrose and Rollins win the tag team titles later that night against Ziggler and McIntyre, and then Ambrose proceeded to hit multiple dirty deeds on Seth Rollins, one on the concrete floor. His heel turn on October 22nd, I believe it was done absolutely beautifully. It was done perfectly. I don't think I could have pitched a better heel turn in the moment for Dean Ambrose. And when I first heard about this, or when I first heard about this and when I first saw this, I was like, wow. They could really make Dean Ambrose into a main roster version of Tommaso Ciampa. Dean Ambrose at that moment was, for one night only, was the biggest heel in the entire WWE, aside from Tommaso Ciampa. Aside from Tommaso Ciampa, Dean Ambrose for one night only was the biggest heel in WWE. Just based on that moment alone. What did WWE do? Same thing that they always do. They fucked it up. You had Dean Ambrose hide away in the shadows. You had Dean Ambrose come out and say nothing. Otherwise, and when he did come out, he said, "You want to know what I did?" And then he just proceeded to dirty deeds Rollins and leave. He was talking in riddles for most of his promos. No one could understand what he's saying. He was basically out there. And he was portrayed almost like a chicken shit heel. He was portrayed almost like a chicken shit heel. He came out wearing this huge big brown coat, surrounded by SWAT team members, getting injections with vaccinations, getting vaccination injections for when he's going to the next city, calling everyone vermits, saying that, Seth Rollins, like this. I don't even remember. I don't even remember what his promos were all about. I don't even fucking remember. He was running away whenever Seth Rollins actually tried to get his hands on him, running through the crowd, using the security guards as human shields. And the feud itself was pretty much a flop. Rollins didn't defend the Intercontinental Championship for 3 months. 3 months. 3 months before TLC. He didn't defend the Intercontinental Championship for 3 months, so the Intercontinental Championship basically became a prop of Rollins. That second Intercontinental Championship reign from Rollins was absolutely terrible. Then we had Dean Ambrose sitting in the back, doing nothing, while Seth Rollins faced off against Baron Corbin in a TLC match for the Intercontinental Championship on Monday Night Raw. And on top of that, the match didn't even have a stipulation. Why do you think the match sucked? Aside from the feud being completely lackluster, and Dean Ambrose's character acting like a chicken shit, and Rollins himself, though he was great in the ring, Seth Rollins and his babyface character died out and dwindled into nothing. Basically because he was put in the Shield again with Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns to try and get Roman over, because no one was going to cheer Roman Reigns in this Universal Championship role after he defeated Brock Lesnar. So Rollins and Ambrose were both in shitty positions. Rollins because of what happened with the Shield, and Dean Ambrose because of what happened with the shitty creative direction of his character. The match at TLC was fucking boring. No one cared about it. That should have been either a chairs match or a ladder match. One of those two, with weapons in hands, that would have enhanced the feud tenfold. Rollins should have gone in the back. He should have been sneak attacking Dean Ambrose, throwing him over parking lots, or throwing him over cars in the parking lot. Rollins then lost the tag team titles in a handicap match to AOP. I mean, Rollins was basically doing everything else aside from the feud with Dean Ambrose. He was losing the titles to AOP, telling Corbin how Monday Night Raw sucks. It was all over the place. Then when we actually got to the match was boring as shit. They were chanting Becky during the match. Ambrose won the title, and then lost it 4 weeks later to Bobby Lashley, of all people. Like Lashley's gonna do fucking anything with the championship. That's probably why he lost it. It's probably why he lost it, because he wasn't signing a new contract to begin with. For all we know, this could have been Ambrose's plan all month. Ambrose probably had his mind set by the time that he won the Intercontinental title. He didn't want to re-sign, because that match and that feud with Rollins was pretty much almost non-existent, like it never happened. And then like they had the match with Lashley, and then seemingly they forget about what they did. They forget about the feud immediately. WWE wants you to forget about the feud, and Rollins goes on to win the Royal Rumble. Dean Ambrose gets beat by Rollins on Raw. Then this report comes out. It was just all over the place. It was so confusing. It was hard to follow at points. It was really hard to follow at points. And I don't really understand how they could have ruined the Dean Ambrose-Seth Rollins feud, considering how good the first one was when Rollins originally turned on the Shield. Everyone thought that Dean Ambrose was going to hold the title to WrestleMania and probably drop it to Finn Balor, but no, they gave it to Bobby Lashley for whatever reason. It's very frustrating to see a guy like Dean Ambrose frustrated with his character and looking to leave, mainly because Dean Ambrose has been such a focal point on WWE television for the longest time now. The guy's a Grand Slam champion, Money in the Bank winner. He teamed with the Shield. He had one of the longest U.S. championship reigns in the history of this company. And now we're talking about Dean Ambrose. It's just like the same thing with Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura came in with all this hype. He became a 2-time NXT champion, brought up to SmackDown, buried by Jinder Mahal, and shitty booking, won the Royal Rumble, had a lackluster, all-over-the-place feud with AJ Styles, won the United States Championship, and then was seemingly forgotten about. I don't know. It's very frustrating to read reports like this because it's almost like WWE just doesn't learn. They just never learn. And wait till you hear the next report that I got. Again, I don't blame Dean Ambrose whatsoever. If I was Dean Ambrose, I would have done the same thing. But I would have done it sooner. Alright, moving on. Before I get too tied up into that. My next report, well actually my next two reports tie into each other. Number one, the Wrestling Observer Radio reported that WWE still plans on adding Charlotte Flair to the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. Now, how do they proceed to do that? Well, that's where my next report comes in. First of all, before we get into it, look, I don't really mind if they insert Charlotte Flair into the match, mainly because of the fact that it could very well enhance the match and make it better. But the fact is that Becky Lynch won the Royal Rumble, and that was it. She chose Ronda Rousey. Now we're getting Becky and Ronda. We don't really need Charlotte Flair in there. Charlotte Flair, she can take a back seat. If you want to put Charlotte Flair on WrestleMania's card, have Charlotte Flair win the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. You had Naomi win the Women's Battle Royal last year. You could have Charlotte do it this year. If you absolutely have to get Charlotte on the card, there's no reason why you can't just put her on the pre-show. Let her take a step down. She's almost an 8-time women's champion already. Have her take a step down, have her win the Battle Royal. There's really no one else to win it. It would almost seem as though WWE is treating Charlotte Flair like Roman Reigns here. They just can't leave her out of the main event scene, not even for just one pay-per-view. Now, how do they plan on doing this? Well, that's where my next report comes in. WWE Fastlane 2019 is taking place on March 10th, 2019 in Cleveland, Ohio. I don't necessarily remember what the arena's name is, but regardless, it is in Cleveland, Ohio, and the arena has already begun advertising 3 matches for the pay-per-view. The advertised matches read as follows: WWE Champion Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair, Intercontinental Champion Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins. Now, based on those 3 matches, you know, I'm assuming that what's running through your mind is, fuck, this pay-per-view is gonna suck. However, you have to remember, and you need to take into consideration, that Fastlane has been known to throw down advertised matches, and they never happen. Card is always subject to change. This is the 3rd year in a row that I am reading Fastlane matches being advertised in advance. They did it in 2017. You know, WWE just has a streak of doing this with Fastlane. They've done it 2 prior years before. They did it in 2017 with Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho. They advertised a match between those two at Fastlane 2017 for the United States Championship. Never happened. Just last year, they advertised a Fatal 5-Way match with AJ Styles defending against Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Randy Orton, and Shinsuke Nakamura. That never happened. So, basically, looking at this card, WWE Champion Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles and Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins most likely will not happen. They're just doing this to sell tickets, although I don't know why anyone would go buy tickets based off of another match with Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles being advertised. They faced off 4 times within the last 3 months. And who the fuck wants to see Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins? It's not like the last 2 matches were anything memorable. I can't even remember how the last 2 matches went. The only match that I can see happening out of these 3 is Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. Mainly because of the fact that the Wrestling Observer Radio reported that if WWE still plans to add Charlotte Flair into the Raw Women's title match, then Charlotte Flair is going to make a case to either management or to Becky Lynch, or she's going to go Becky Lynch into this match, saying, hey, you were never supposed to be in the Rumble. I basically had that Rumble match in the bag. How about you and me one more time, and if I win, then I will get added to your match at WrestleMania. And if that's the case, then most likely Charlotte Flair is going to win this match. Now, WWE really shouldn't do that because this is basically going back on what the Royal Rumble winner is all about. And it would basically make Charlotte Flair seem like an entitled Roman Reigns female knockoff. It is, it's stuff like this that, just shows you how stubborn WWE really is. And then you got Bully Ray saying that Charlotte Flair deserves to main event WrestleMania. Deserves is not the correct word. Charlotte Flair has been gifted so many accomplishments in such a short amount of time. Charlotte Flair was Divas Champion within 2 months of her WWE main roster career. 2 months. Charlotte Flair held that Divas title for nearly 200 days. She became the first ever Raw Women's Champion, held that for over 100 days, had a feud with Sasha, won the first ever Women's Hell in a Cell match, became a 4-time Raw Women's Champion at Roadblock. She got drafted to SmackDown, won the SmackDown Women's Championship, held that for almost 150 days, ended Asuka's undefeated streak, and then she got this feud with Becky. So, Charlotte Flair has been put in all these championship situations. Yes, she is a good wrestler, but she has not earned anything. Now, if you want to talk about earning something, Becky earned something because she won the Royal Rumble. Charlotte Flair has been put into a position where, right now at least, she is the female Roman Reigns. Everyone, originally I was going with Alexa Bliss as the female Roman Reigns, basically because Alexa Bliss has almost 3 years under her belt as a main roster superstar, and she has already held 6 women's championships, and it has been nearly 500 days of her main roster career out of 800, I believe, as champion. Think about that. 500 plus days as champion. And your main roster career has only been around 800 days. If that's not being forced down your throats, then I don't know what is. Now, thankfully, she's not in a championship picture now. Charlotte Flair still has, she has a similar record to Alexa Bliss, but I think WWE is more up Alexa Bliss's ass than they are Charlotte's ass. But regardless, I feel as though WWE is going to go forth and they're going to really add Charlotte Flair to this match just based on these 2 reports alone and how they tie into each other. Because remember, Charlotte Flair was actually told that she was going to main event WrestleMania. But WWE, they're going to figure out some sly way to get her in there just by beating Becky Lynch. Oh, you beat Becky Lynch, but Becky won the Royal Rumble already, so it's a guaranteed title opportunity at WrestleMania. But since it's Charlotte Flair, you got to put Charlotte Flair in there because Charlotte Flair is the queen of WWE. Charlotte Flair needs to take a step down for at least one pay-per-view. You don't need to have Charlotte Flair in one of your biggest women's matches on every pay-per-view. They've done this way too often. They've done it way too often. The only time that they didn't do it, the last time I can remember that they didn't do it with Charlotte, was at SummerSlam in 2017, mainly because Charlotte was home caring for her father, and it was Naomi and Natalya at SummerSlam for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So, based on these 2 reports and how they tie in together, I can definitely see Charlotte getting into this match. And most likely, Becky and Charlotte are going to have the match at Fastlane. For all we know, it could happen at the Elimination Chamber. But as far as Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles goes, and Bobby and Seth, there's no way that's happening. AJ Styles has already gotten multiple opportunities. He's getting another one inside the Elimination Chamber. And why does Seth Rollins need to be challenging Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental Championship? He's already slated for a Universal title match against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So these matches are not happening. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. I greatly appreciate it. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at the DJ Storms. Follow me on Twitter at Storms Takeover. What I want you to do is I want you to hit that thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up. I'm trying to move up in the world of YouTube. If you're going to give me a thumbs down, well, ka-ching, there you go. I want you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. We're trying to make history here. And I also want you to hit that notifications bell with a huge diving drop kick. You know why? Because if you hit that notifications bell, that way you will be notified whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because when I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube. Also tomorrow, in the afternoon, it is going to be the 10th annual, yes, the 10th special edition Storm Stream. I have been waiting for this moment my entire life. Me and my girl JoJo from Cali, we are going to make history. 10 Storm Streams, and my God, I can't believe I even did one Storm Stream. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, do not miss it. It is going to be good. Let's try and get the Lightning Flash update for February 1st to 10 likes. Let me see you with that 10 likes. Alright? If you don't, I'm going to be coming after you. You understand me? And ladies and gentlemen, I'm DJ Storms. This has been the Lightning Flash Update. I will catch you tomorrow. You have a wonderful day.